Live streaming is on.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, November 18th version of our Jitsi community call. To kick it off, I wanted to offer to Jitsi members to talk about what you've been up to. Myself, I don't think I have anything specific for the community to update. Anyone else?
I just wanted to give a new bridge update. We've been continuing to do kind of canary release candidate shards on Meet Jitsi. Those have been going well. We had what we thought was an issue last week that turns out not to be. We did fix a problem we fixed last week that had to do with low send bitrate when users changed their microphone, funnily enough, but that's now fixed. So I think we'll push another canary today, and we'll keep going with that. And if those looking good, I think we're getting closer and closer to doing a full rollout to Meet Jitsi. So that'll hopefully be coming soon.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. That is exciting. Anyone else from our team?
I'm currently working on some legacy issues that we experience on Meet Jitsi, calls without audio. So this is my main focus these days. It's legacy.
Cool. Thank you, Damien.
There was this issue actually with the screen sharing, or maybe even with the camera streams, that from time to time in the stage view, the large video basically could be hidden. So in some specific situations, like going from tile view and back to stage view, and yeah, this should be fixed now, and I think even released, right?
Yeah, we did a release on Friday with that fix.
Yeah, so that should be released now.
Cool. Thank you, Risto. Anyone else from our team have an update?
So I don't know if we talked about Octo last time, but the current state is that we've disabled it on Meet temporarily while looking at some issues. And we're planning to enable it sometime in the future.
Good point, Boris. Anyone else from our team? Great.
Boris, I was just going to say, Boris, maybe you want to expand on what it is with Octo, because I think you're making it sound a little worse than maybe it is, but
right. So
curious.
Sure. So there's a couple of things. One is there was an outage or a period of time where it was not working between the US and Europe, and we're still not sure why that happened. So until we figure it out, we decided to stop it to be on the safe side. Apart from that, we looked at the measurements of round trip times. We did an experiment where we look at round trip times between endpoints. And so end-to-end between one point and another, and between an endpoint and the nearest server. And these results were a little disappointing. The server round trip time dropped as we expected, but not by a significant amount. And the end-to-end round trip time was actually increased. So because of this, we'd like to proceed by working out a new selection strategy so that we don't select too many bridges for a conference. In some situations, it might be a problem where it's easy to see on a diagram, but I don't have one right now. So if there's two participants that are close to two different bridges, say they have roughly the same round trip time, in that case, you'd rather just use one bridge because that doesn't incur the bridge-to-bridge delay. And we think that that might be the reason why overall the end-to-end round trip time increases, because by always selecting the nearest bridge, we're always incurring that penalty. So we have some ideas as to how to improve it, and we'll be testing them at some point later.
Excellent. Anyone else from the team have anything you want to bring up? Okay, then we'll open it up for general questions. Anybody from the community?
Hi guys, Daryl Hutchings here from Collaboration Squared. How you doing?
Pretty well. What's up, Daryl?
Cool, thank you. Yeah, it's the first time I've joined the community call live. I've watched them for quite a few months now, but good to actually be on here. So, yeah, first of all, thank you for obviously the great technology you guys provide and open sourcing it. You know, we're very, very grateful for that, and also thankful for you guys for the quick responses you have on the tickets online. So you're doing a great job. Please keep it up.
Thanks.
But yeah, the reason for talking today was, so yeah, we've been attempting to implement a global infrastructure, and we've had a few tickets open about Octo and HA proxy and kind of how to best configure it. And it's taken us quite a few weeks, but we kind of think we're just about there. And what you can see behind me actually is using Octo right now between Asia and Europe, which is great. But yeah, my developer, Mohammed, is on the call, and I think he had some specific questions with some of the challenges that we've been facing, and just want to kind of hopefully get it tied off. But yeah, Emil suggested that we jump on and talk about it live.
Yeah, sure. Welcome.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Muhammad Abada. Yeah, as Daryl explained, we just got Octo running, which is really a good news for us because we have been trying to get it working for the last few weeks, and currently I just have a concern about how Turn should be configured if we are planning to scale Turn servers as well. So I'm not sure how you guys did it. So if you can just shed some light about that, that would be great.
Yeah. So right now, actually, we're not running in a scalable turn configuration. What we've done is actually deployed a turn server in every region that we would want to, well, we thought we might have users, which is actually more regions than we run shards. So we have about 15 turn servers deployed, and we're using, I think we're using about the same size as the bridges, C5X larges right now. And right now we haven't actually seen any scaling issues just with the ones. If and when we did, we would probably end up just splitting and kind of just doing round robin DNS lookup, because right now we just do latency based routing for the turn servers. So we let Route 53 AWS service decide which is your closest turn server. We just advertise the DNS, and then each client puts that DNS in. Resolves to a local turn server, and then we use that as an ICE candidate.
And that's a totally independent set of servers. It doesn't, there's really no relation between them and the bridges or
That's
other
correct.
parts of the infrastructure. So it's simple to scale.
Yeah, so my suggestion there is, I mean, it's not ideal to do it via DNS, because it means when you do resolve one and it goes down, you have to kind of handle clients who are failing there. The way we've handled that is that we reserved ourselves a number of elastic IPs. So even when a server goes down, the next one that comes up is going to end up with that same IP, so that we can very quickly continue to, handle any outage that includes users who have already resolved the turn server.
Yeah, great. We actually did the same. So we're using latency-based routing at the moment with 4 turn servers across the regions we're using at the moment. But my question is, in case we're using multiple shards, then how you guys are configuring the turn selection from shard point of view?
I see. So from the shard point of view, every shard always advertises the same DNS name. So the shards don't care. They've just been configured to hard code which DNS name to advertise. and then that DNS name is resolved by each client separately, right? So that's the only connection between the shard and the turn servers, is that the shard knows what DNS name to advertise, and we just always advertise the same DNS name. And then for the latency-based routing, we end up having each user resolve to the one in their local region. And if we did need to scale it, I imagine they would just resolve to some kind of round robin within the region if you needed more than one.
Yeah, so from a client point of view, it won't make any difference, because at the end, you will be using the same domain name for your turn implementation.
So yeah, the turn servers, I think ours are called like all-turn or turn.jitsi.net. So yeah, it's a totally different DNS name than the normal deployment that you're going to, and we just use that to advertise just our turn servers.
I see. Okay, so my second question is related to how to connect GVBs in Octo implementation to multiple shards. We got it running with a single shard at the moment, but as
so what I'm hearing is you have multiple pools of bridges in different regions, or advertising themselves in different regions, but connecting into a single shard. So basically, you've already got most of what you need, and what you would end up doing is simply having all of the bridges in every region know about all of the shards and connect there. And you'd want to use, instead of the component-based JVB, you'd want to be using the XMPP-based JVB connections. And what that does is each bridge then knows about all of the shards and joins as a participant in a muck on each of those shards, and then Jacofo is configured to know about the JVBs and discover them there. And because of the properties they're advertising, it will include the region that they're in, and then Jacofo can use that as part of its selection strategy.
Yeah, we are using the muck scenario at the moment, but my question is, considering that the GVBs need to authenticate to the XMB server, how the authentication will happen at this case?
So basically, we're just using username and password, and all of our bridges are logging in to the XMPP server. So they're sort of pre-configured with a working username and password at the moment.
Yeah, I understand that, but my question is, from GVB configuration point of view, how can I add multiple authentication configuration?
Oh, I see what you're saying. You want to know how does one have multiple shards defined in the configuration?
Yes.
Damien, can you talk to that? Because I actually don't recall where in the documentation we specify that. I can send you offline an example bit of documentation, especially if you ask specifically for that in the community forum. It'll be easy for me to then just paste something in. But it's as far as I remember it, it's just you define a set of accounts.
Yeah, there's a field. So part of the property names contain a field that identifies the shard. So you just copy paste them and change that field to another shard. It's also worth noting that the bridge supports dynamically adding new ones via an HTTP API. So if you have new shards coming up or down, you can add that as well. And if we don't have documentation on this in the bridge project, we should. And I volunteer to actually write a doc because it's not complex at all.
So yeah, I'm actually looking now, and it seems to be, so normally when you're configuring one, you say org.jitsi.videobridge.xmpp.user.something, and you can just have as many .somethings there as you want, as long as they're unique. And then you just set the properties: hostname, domain, username, password, muck jids, muck, and muck nickname. So yeah, we can send you an example, but basically you just you would iterate through and have a unique name for each of those accounts, and it should just work for you.
Okay, so within the same config file with the same communicator, I can find.
That's correct.
Okay, got you. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are all really good questions. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Anyone else with questions?
If there is no other questions, I actually have a third one. So, but
sure, yeah, we'll just count this as part of your first one.
I will give a space for the rest of the guys.
I have a quick question. This is Paul here. How's everybody doing?
Hey, Paul.
I know that it's come up a couple of times that there is a known bug related to the kind of the lip sync that we've noticed. I believe like the lip sync hack is resolved, if I remember correctly. But I'm pretty sure I recall having that been brought up where just the video and the audio appear out of sync, and this is just a question that's come up a bunch of times on our end. So I was curious if if anybody can provide
in case what we have to say for ourselves.
on that, like what the source of that bug if it is in fact a bug. Just curious. No, bugs. We all know the reality of bugs. So.
Yeah, the silence that you're hearing, I think, is that we have definitely seen it. I'm aware of it in the sense that people have complained that my lip sync is regularly off. I don't know, does the rest of the team want to respond more clearly?
What exactly is the question? Paul, I'm not hearing you that well, actually. It sounds as if your device is strangely away from your mouth.
Sorry, can you hear me okay now?
I think it's better.
Okay, so I just have heard referenced on this call that there was. I thought it was actually just like.
Do you want a status? Do you want a status of the lip sync situation?
Or just what the cause is. I'm just curious what I've noticed it a bunch of times.
The cause is that in order for WebRTC to provide lip sync, the audio and video tracks need to have the same MSID in the SDP that we send to Chrome. We used to do this at one point, but then we realized that there was this issue in Chrome where if you do this, if you make the two tracks part of the same media stream, then Chrome expects that you would send video, and it makes that a requirement before it starts playing audio. So if you have a situation where you join a call and we decide not to send you some of the videos for bandwidth constraints, your audio is not going to play through because of that quirky situation in Chrome. I don't believe this was ever changed in Chrome. In fact, they changed it once, but then someone came up with a reason why this contradicted the HTML5 specification of a video tag, so they reverted it, and I don't think they're looking at ever fixing it again. So we then went and said, okay, well, that doesn't matter. If we ever need to do that, we're going to send you a black keyframe so that we just unblock like a single pixel thing, 200 bytes. And we would send it even 5 times just to make sure that you got it at least once. And then that created a bunch of complexities with respecting sequence numbers, and it just became such a nightmare to manage, and it made so many other things more complicated, the fact that we're injecting these frames, that we just thought, fuck it, we are just going to cut lip sync and we'll proceed forward. Now, if the question of when are we going to revisit that decision again, the answer is between tomorrow and someday, probably earlier than never, but it's not something that is coming super high right now on our list of priorities, unfortunately. Does that help clarify?
Okay, so I think so. So if I understand correctly, the solution was, because it was just a lot of complexity for not a lot of value, was just take that lip sync hack out. But the end result is that sometimes now the audio and video are out of sync. Is that correct? Like,
yes.
Okay. So theoretically, if we put that back,
that would typically happen. If you were to put that back in the hack, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious.
You would expose yourself to if you were to put that back in, you would expose yourself to situations with no audio at all.
Right.
And then there were certain cases where like things started failing altogether, either video or audio, because we were messing up something around the black keyframes. So it's just worse things happen if you.
You'd have to make the client side change too, to make sure
right.
to get them as both at the same.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, just out of curiosity, there's no way on the client side to identify the frame, right? Like the current, like the RTP time or the sequence.
Oh, there
size
is. There absolutely is. That's how they do
Is there?
it. That's how WebRTC implements it. Yes, they do that. We do that with, not we, WebRTC does that in general. It's specified by RTP.
No.
You use the RTP timestamp.
But-
Sorry, Brian, did you want to?
Not in JavaScript though. I think he's asking about in JavaScript, or I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, in JavaScript, like as a way around that, like JavaScript doesn't expose that, correct?
Right.
Okay.
There's been a few people, I think, on Discuss.
Because that would just be another.
I was going to say
Sorry,
there's been a few people, I think, on the WebRTC Discuss list who've tried to pass some kind of frame type metadata, and I can't remember if anyone had come up with something clever there, but.
Okay. Is it? I could look for that. That seems interesting. Like I think there's some way to get it. There's some way to get occasional. I think the occasional frame through maybe this, like through stats, the WebRTC stats. But
You know what? I think I remember what it was. I think what they actually did was they actually used a data channel for actual media transmission, and then they added their own metadata, did something like that. So I don't know that you want to get into that, but if you were desperate.
That's
So
that's a little.
The other thing that would be interesting would be like, because I didn't remember, Emil, what you had said that Chrome had fixed this and then reverted it. I thought there was a chance that maybe they had fixed this and we hadn't gotten around to addressing it or something.
Well, there was definitely a change that they made. That's one of the things that kind of remained unclear, because we thought that the issue was in the jitter buffer. They were claiming that it was in the video tag player, and it was weird. The change that they made was in the video tag player, but they reverted it so quickly I don't even recall if that change made substantial difference for us. And I mean, either way, I guess we never looked into it deeper than that, because we're not going to fix it in WebRTC.
Yeah, I wonder if you could probably take one of the WebRTC examples from the WebRTC examples repo and modify it slightly to prove the either existence or lack thereof of this bug, just to totally verify. Paul,
that would probably be a first step. The first step anyway. Not anyway. Absolutely, the first step in that direction, just to already just have a properly filed bug at WebRTC and try to make sure that they don't just mark it as a duplicate to the other one. And then if we were to go down that path again, and that bug appears to still be there, unless Brian, that example shows that it's not there anymore, then we should probably think about revisiting the black frame solution, but with potentially letting through some packets, some actual packets or something like that.
I think there's an easier way to test this. There's a property in Gcofo to either use the single media stream or separate media streams, effectively enabling or disabling sync. So you just flip that property and see if the problem occurs in read. That should answer it.
What property is that?
Let me look it up for you. 1 second.
Oh, thanks.
Does that mostly answer your question, other than the name of this property, obviously?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I appreciate the update. It's really helpful.
Hi, this is Ben. Just a quick question. So for the call stats integration, there seem to be, so there are some front-end settings, there's some JVB settings. My question are two. One is I seem to be having some trouble getting just putting the front-end call stats settings in and actually getting the data show up in call stats. I don't know if there are any known issues or any known changes that have happened. The second question would be, what is the interplay between the front end and the JVB call stats settings? Basically, yeah, if you can comment on that.
So I'm not sure what's the problem on the UI. Just need to put the two settings. We can write in the community forum and continue there. And JVB configuration, for course, that's a little bit more complex, but it's not rocket science. So we pass an ID from the client to Gcofu, which passes it back to the JVB when opening the channels, and then the reports from the client and from JVB, you can see it for the same IDs there. So it should be basically you will see for SRC or for a stream, you can see how the client reports it, how the bridge reports it. This is it's useful for sometimes for debugging some problems.
So it is basically adding it in the JVB is not required, but it provides additional detail for finding the cause of problems. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have another one. So regarding SEB video call capabilities, do you guys have any solution other than Jibri? Or any...
Sorry, I missed the beginning of your question.
Regarding SEB video call capabilities.
I see.
Is there any solution other than Jibri you guys might suggest?
I mean, go ahead, Damien.
So, no, we would never suggest another solution other than Jibri. We absolutely think that Jibri is the only reasonable solution to SIP video calls. That said, we are currently working on getting Jibri for SIP video calls closer to a production state.
Any time frames you can share with us?
No, unfortunately not. It's a complicated project. We're working on it right now. Damien is in fact working on that. But it's a tricky thing. So we're trying to get there. So as you might have seen, we're using. Actually, I don't know if you could have seen that. I'm not sure if that part of it is something that we've disclosed already. I don't know if it's been final enough for that, but you were using a wrapper of PJ Sua. Did we make that public? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's public.
And right now we're having issues around PJ Sua's ability to actually handle video calls properly. So, and we have absolutely no idea why. It's not a project that we are extremely familiar with. So that kind of makes it hard to predict any time frame here. But it is something that's important to us as well. So I guess we'll just keep banging it until we get something satisfactory out of it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions? Or Boris, if you want to, I don't know if you followed up with your, I see you have, yeah, great. So.
Thanks, Boris. Appreciate it.
And Paul, let us know how it goes with your testing.
Oh yeah, so testing actually has been really, really great on the.
No, specifically I meant for the. I'm really sorry. Obviously we're interested in the new bridge testing as well, but I meant the Gcofu thing.
Yeah, we'll definitely try it out, and I'll let you know. So definitely would be good to know if somehow miraculously this has been resolved. But if we find any other way around the bug, then we'll also share that. But yeah, it's definitely helpful to have all the context here. So I appreciate it.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else in the community have any other questions? Going once.
Guys, one very short question before, just real quick. Are you guys still using for things like load testing? Are you still using the Jitsi torture? Or I've also noticed that there's this kite project as part of the WebRTC GitHub repo with specifically a Jitsi module for doing Selenium based load tests. Or is there? I'm just curious. We're getting to the point where we're really trying to test out our whole platform and our deployment. Is that the recommended approach that's most often used, or is there? I know there's a bunch of projects that I do in the GitHub org.
We're using GTME torture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that
Okay.
kite module for doing Selenium testing of Jitsi. Brian, are you familiar with that one? The kite module for Selenium testing of Jitsi for load testing?
I can send it. You want me to send a link?
Yeah, if you can put a link, I'd actually be interested. I'm always happy to like pound on our servers in different ways. So if somebody else already has done some work that way, I'm interested.
They specifically have, and it looks like actually that's the main thing that they focus on is like the proof point is using. I don't know how recent this is, but it does seem to be pretty up to date. That's why I asked, because I don't know if you guys have played with this at all. But I will.
So from what I understand of what the
not
team
tonight.
does currently, it's that we use Jitsi Meet Torture and we do checkouts so that we make sure we have assets on all of the Selenium grid that we run, but we run our own scalable Selenium grid, and then we'll scale up depending on the size of node or the type of node or how big a test we're going to do. And if we need it in multiple regions or whatever else, we might need a little more setup. But then we just script it all, as far as I understood it, through the Selenium grid.
I think that's what this kite thing is doing too. Maybe it's even based. I haven't really looked at it in much detail. So for all I know, they're using part of that code. This is also Selenium based.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
nothing else. I'm happy to take some tips and trips from what they're doing too. So
yeah,
we'll take a look.
Cool.
Thanks for the question and call out.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for that.
Anyone else? Last call. Cool. Then with that, I think we'll wrap up this edition of the community call. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. Have a great day.